we are only going, like in Illinois, for example, which I'm most familiar with, but which is typical, we're only going to let you do this if you pass a test of having good moral character. We're going to investigate your reputation in the community. We at the Department of Financial Regulation will make findings that your reputation for honesty and fairness is such that we can let you get out of these interest rate caps to lend money more freely to consumers. But then that all went by the by, and then it was anything goes, and soon you had the most predatory behavior going on without any kind of check into moral character or otherwise, which was the fig leaf to allow this deregulation to occur at the state level. And then came Marquette Bank, where it became pointless to try to regulate it at all because all the states were effectively preempted when they're dealing with the big Chase and Citi banks and out-of-state credit card issuers.
So what is your recommendation? You make 4 major points. What you think has to happen now?
Oh, well, my major points change from month to month, and that was some time ago, but I still stick with those that are in the article. First of all, we ought to have an interest rate cap in this country. Senator Durbin proposed a 35%, but it should be much lower than that, especially for the banks that we're bailing out. I'd slash it at least by half. Second, I think that there should be something in the country like what Europeans, the Germans in particular, have, these Sparkasse, and I'm probably mispronouncing the German word. Somebody taught me the correct pronunciation of it, but I bungled it. These are state-run banks that make low interest rate loans to consumers and are a wonderful alternative to the payday lending system that is being put up in most states. Soon will be in New York too, I assure you, but are certainly in California and Illinois. And third, I think that as long as we're in the process of bailing out the banks, we've got to restructure them. That's one of several grievances I have against the administration plan. And in particular, at the very least, let's put aside the issue of nationalization. I think that there should at least be these public guardians on the board of directors who will, from inside the bank, there has to be a restructuring of these banks to ensure that these banks are much more in the nature of fiduciaries and guardians and do what banks ought to be doing in this country, pushing money into the globally competitive parts of the economy, accepting lower rates of return, not squeezing money from consumers. It's not enough to have external outside regulation. You have to change the internal corporate structure of the banks. And I think some kind of co-determination with the public at the board level is the way to go. And finally, I think that we have to inject equity not only into the banks, but to the people who the banks are lending to. We've got to make people, we not just have to force the banks to extend credit, we have to make people more creditworthy. And one of the ways of doing that and encouraging future-oriented thinking is, I believe, for the president and the administration right now, to make a big point about promising people that if they work for a living in this country, they will get a decent public pension to live on when they retire. So instead of cutting back on entitlements or and all the veiled sounds coming out of Washington are to that extent, I would increase the replacement rate of Social Security from our very low level now, which is something like 40% on average, to the amount that other developed countries pay on average, according to the OECD, which is closer to 2/3 of working income.
And where do you see the labor movement today under an Obama administration and the Employee Free Choice Act, which I think the large corporations this week, Starbucks and Costco and Walmart, are joining together to launch a massive advertising campaign against?
Yes, well, EFCA, or the Employee Free Choice Act, or whatever you want to call it, is crucial for labor. Some sort of labor law reform is important, but I would urge people in labor and all friends of labor throughout this country that if we're really serious about bringing back the labor movement through changes in laws, which are absolutely crucial, not just employee free choice, but bankruptcy laws, all sorts of laws that allow us to hold corporations liable for their wage obligations, we have to do something about the filibuster in the Senate. It has to be removed. It has to be taken away. It's destroyed the labor movement over and over. Labor laws have gone down the drain because of the filibuster. As long as that's in place, we're going to have a country that is on warp speed. Well, under Carter, we could have had labor law reform, but for the filibuster. Passed the House, got majority in the Senate, went down the drain because of the filibuster. Under Clinton, we could have had labor law reform, but for the filibuster. Passed the House, got a majority in the Senate, went down the drain because of the filibuster. The stimulus plan that Barack Obama just proposed could have been great. It went down the drain because of the filibuster. We had to negotiate. It got through, but it got negotiated away. The same is going to happen with the Employee Free Choice Act. Until you move to a Senate that is more majoritarian, the reality is that you're going to be in a situation where you have a very unequal, unfair, often unethical and oppressive economy, because you can't get the changes that you need. You can't get the New Deal reenacted with the kind of filibuster that is in place today. FDR couldn't have had the New Deal if he had had the filibuster that we have now, where any senator can just raise his hand and say, well, I would like to filibuster this. I don't actually have to get up there and argue. I would just like to do it, and require a 2/3, 60 vote of the Senate to get measures through. The New Deal wouldn't have happened.
Well, I want to thank you very much for being with us. Thomas Geoghegan, Chicago-based lawyer. His piece is called Infinite Debt in the latest issue of Harper's. And when I talked about the Employee Free Choice Act, the groups that are joining together in a joint advertising campaign are Costco, Whole Foods, and Starbucks. So Walmart is also opposed to EFCA. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report.